The FTC and attorney generals across the country are suing car dealers over their advertising. And the problem is the dealers advertise prices that are lower than they actually need to sell the car. It's illegal under consumer protection statutes. The problem for us has been that some customers tell us our prices are higher than our competitors, but they're really not. Prices are lower than most of our competitors. The difference is we put a price on the internet, on TV, wherever we price a car, it's the full price of the car. The freight's not extra, all that other nonsense that you read about doesn't apply here. That you can buy the car for the price that we have on the internet and the price that we show in our TV ads, whatever it is. It's the yellow tag price that's on the windshield of every car. And it's the full price delivered too. So that's the problem. If you read these lawsuits, they all say the same thing. The dealer lures the customer into the showroom with a deceptively low price, a price they can't sell the car for, and the real price is several $1,000s or more or higher. And that is illegal. The problem is the history of the business. If you go back to before the car, there was the horse, and we relied on the horse for transportation. We had buggies, and we had wagons for commercial work, but there was the people that sold horses and wagons and buggies, they were known as horse traders. If you look up horse trader in the dictionary, it'll tell you that this is intense negotiations with compromises and what have you. That's what horse traders do. So when the automobile manufacturers, there were no automobile manufacturers until 1890 something. But there were, like Studebaker, for example, which was a major automobile manufacturer. They were in the horse and buggy business, or the buggy and wagon business, I should say. They made the buggies, they made wagons, they made the paraphernalia for horses, the harnesses and the reins and whatnot. And they were very big in that. So they had relationships with these people selling horses and buggies, these horse traders. So they had to go to them and sell cars. Manufacturers can make cars, but they don't generally sell them. They go to dealers for that. Well, the dealer that's dealing in wagons and buggies is going to sell cars in the same way. There was no manufacturer disclosure label in those days, so they could put the price on them that they wanted to put on them, and they'd had plenty of room to give away money to get people to make a deal. It's always been that way. And that's the heritage of the car dealer, because that's how it started. The manufacturers and the car dealers were both in the horse trading business before they were car dealers. And so that's what gets us into trouble, because it's so difficult to negotiate prices on cars today. And the reason for that is that in 1959, the government decided that consumers needed to be aware of the manufacturer's suggested retail price on a car to protect consumers from dealers that would band together and blow up the prices high so they'd have room to give away. The horse trading concept. Well, the first Monroney label, as it's called, disclosure label, appeared on a car in 1959. That's 60 years after the car came into existence. For all those years, the dealers put whatever price they wanted on their cars. And customers knew that they were inflated, so they would have to negotiate to get the real price, whatever that was. All the disclosure label did was narrow the scope of the negotiations. Dealers were allowed to put addendum labels next to the factory's label. Some of them looked like they were put there by the factory. Of course, they weren't. And there would be all kinds of adjustments and what have you, and fees put into that so that the dealer would have even more to give away. But over the years, for example, in '59, the first label came on a car. The dealer got a 25% discount. In 1960, the very next year, the Falcon Corvair Valiant came out, the first compact cars. They got a compact discount. And the manufacturers have been whittling away at the discount all those years since 1959. And it's down to the point now where some cars have no discount at all. The average discount, all big cars and little cars and trucks, is 4%. 4%. So how much negotiation can you do when the answer is there's no room for negotiation? So what the dealers have done is they, instead of negotiating from the top down, they negotiate from the bottom up. And that's been going along for years because the 25% discount didn't survive the decade of the 50s. It was gone pretty fast. The problem is that the consumer protection statutes, the way they're written, prohibit dealers from doing what they need to do. Negotiation is okay, but it has to be from a higher price down, not from a lower price up. But the dealers don't know what to do about that because they don't think they can sell cars without price negotiation. And and that's why we're in this fix. I'm not in this fix. Our dealerships post prices. That's why we post prices. So little room for negotiation. So it's worked out for us because we've been doing it for so long. We've been doing it since 1979. And the reason we did it is because of, for me, a life-changing experience in 1979. We've just been through a year of super high interest rates, people say. And it's I think it got up to 8.5%. And then dealers pay that much plus a point or so to get a loan to finance their floor plan. Well, in 1979, that number was 21.5%. And most people have no idea that. That's been so long ago, nearly 50 years. But that was a fact. And Mr. Carter and Mr. Volcker, who was the Federal Reserve Board chairman, were trying to stamp out inflation forever. Well, didn't work, did it? We've had inflation cycles since then, and I suspect there will be no way to stamp it out forever. The problem for dealers in 1979, Chrysler dealers in particular, because Chrysler was directly affected by those high interest rates. Chrysler had a system of, instead of selling cars to fleets, they would lease them. And that meant that they retained ownership and they borrowed the money like the floor plan lines. But that money kept getting more expensive every day as the rates went up. And it was crushing them. 21.5% interest. Think about that. It was impossible for them to sustain themselves with that. Now, the public thought they were going out of business, and so did their competitors. I remember one big thing in the Wall Street Journal, the headline was, "Let Chrysler die with dignity." Well, Chrysler didn't want to die, and neither did I. I didn't want to die either. I had 3 Chrysler dealerships at the time. Fortunately, I had several other brands that were producing good revenue, but we still had a tough year. Anyway, what happened was Chrysler, in desperation to move inventory, organized national tent sales all over the country. Every major market had a tent sale. To be in the tent sale, the dealers had to agree to put their rock bottom price on the windshield of the car, and they had to sell it for that price. They couldn't charge more, and they couldn't negotiate. The price was the price. That was the theme of the tent sale. And they were sharply reduced. All the dealers were desperate to move iron, as we call it. I mean, it was just sitting there gathering dust because everybody thought Chrysler was going into bankruptcy. Well, what a difference. I had to see it to believe it. I don't think I'd believe myself if I said, this is what happened, if I hadn't been there and seen it. The difference was like night and day. Suddenly cars that were just gathering dust were moving, were selling, like ordinary times. The customers just loved it. And it was life-changing for me because I realized that what customers really want is to know they're getting a good price and not have to argue and haggle and all of that stuff to get at all the routines that the car salesman put customers through. And I was a car salesman for 10 years. When your average margin is less than 5%, it's 4% on the big cars. It's as little as 1 and 2% on the small cars. And on electric cars, it's 0 on some of them. So what are you going to negotiate? You got to create. You have to put addendum labels on the car and put all this imaginary foo-far on it. And everybody knows that. That's been kicked around so much. They feel they have to do it because all their employees feel they have to negotiate cars. Most of their sales pay plans relate to the profit in the car. The salesmen get paid a commission on the profit. Our salesmen get paid to take care of the customer. What we want our salesmen to do is treat the customer right, to earn a good report card from a customer. So that's why we have posted prices, and I don't know why others don't. Maybe when the FTC and the Attorney Generals get finished with them, they might try it. Customers like it. That's why we do it.